Well, that wasn't such a chore now, was it?
So, Adriana, you got some stuff?
Yeah.
Once the script has been finalised, it's handed over to this man, animation director Will Mineo.
What I do is I take all the different elements of the show, and I'm the one responsible for assembling them into a filmable package. For instance, when we get the script, the first thing we do is I get together with my art director, Pat Wong, and Pat will break down the script into lists of what props, what backgrounds, what character designs we need. And we'll discuss it and we'll decide what we really need to get done to get the storyboards rolling. Because normally we have to have the storyboards started about the same time as the model package. And so we try to get the major characters for the episode done, the major locations, so the storyboard guys will all be conforming to the same models on them. When we hand out the script to the board artists, they have a 2-week overall deadline, and then they have a 1-week deadline to bring in pencils. And when they bring in pencils, the storyboard is at about this degree of finish, just where you have a rough composition, and you can see who the characters are, what they're doing, that sort of thing. And then we check it against the script, make sure everything's playing properly, that the gags are set up well enough that you can read them, that the characters stay in the right positions for what's going on. And normally I just have those roughs for about half a day, and I check them, and if there's anything I want changed, I'll stick a little post-it on them and go, well, like, this shot would be better as a close-up, for instance. And then I give them back to the board artist. We have a little discussion about the show, how it's going overall, and then they come back in a week with something which hopefully is wonderful. We have storyboard cleanup artists who help me do changes on the storyboards. We have character designers who are designing characters for future episodes. And we have people who are designing background keys, which are line art, black and white drawings of what the locations will look like. And we have our color key artists that take all the black and white art and convert it to color.
Dozens of talented artists prepare the storyboards, backgrounds, and character designs.
Line 1, take 2.
Meanwhile, the dialogue for each Real Ghostbusters episode is recorded in a nearby sound studio.
If we can trap and contain the Ghostmaster, the force field will vanish.
That's a big if, Egon. According to Who's Who in the spirit world, the Ghostmaster rates as a class 11.
11?
Right. Even if we could use our traps and throwers, we can never hold him.
Hey, Egon! Hide! 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 Oh! Hide! The Ghostmaster's coming!
You find that most of the guys who do voices in the cartoons can do many impressions of people and sounds and all that, but other cartoon characters I do
Baby Kermit on the Muppet Babies.
And Skeeter, don't forget Skeeter. Now, she's a little girl, and he never mentions her because he's a male chauvinist frog.
Yeah, I guess I am a male chauvinist frog.
It should just be keep turning the lights off, no on.
Yeah, and he should be tired when he comes down the steps, so he should be.
Uh-oh, I'm late. Oh, this clock is broken. Oh, I gotta go to get this thing, and I gotta go this thing. Huh? Oh, rats. Yeah.
I spend most of my time doing voiceovers. It's fun, it's fast, and it's furious. And another great thing that voice people really enjoy is that when you're an on-camera actor, usually you get stuck with doing one role or whatever your physiognomy restricts you to. But here, like on Ghostbusters, I mean, you can come in and you can be a little dog, and you can be like one of these guys. Or you can even be a person with 12 voices. Hello, how are you? I have 12 voices. Now, on camera, you can't quite get away with that, So this is, for an actor, it's a tremendous thing to be able to play bad guys, good guys, and all in the same show.
Fascinating. I'd love to be doing it myself. Back to the story. Once the dialogue has been recorded, edited and timed, the sound tapes, storyboards, backgrounds and character designs are sent out to animation studios in Japan. At the start of each filming session, the director, Will Mineo, flies from Los Angeles to Tokyo to discuss the style and the organisation of the series with the Japanese team responsible for making and shooting the animation cells.
In terms of production facilities, the Japanese, I think, are the best in the world in terms of doing special effects. And in an odd way, over the last few years, they've wound up being closer to doing European and American-style character animation than the other available subcontracting countries. And in the case of KKC&D, the studio that we're using this season, they were the studio that did the first 2 seasons of the Ghostbusters TV show, and they did the syndication episodes of Ghostbusters. And so they're the most experienced studio in the world in handling these characters. And so you know, there's no reason not to go back to them. They've already succeeded with them. A lot of what happens between the Japanese director and me is that we've had to establish a working relationship, because a lot of what happens in the program is based on our mutual trust and respect in each other's abilities. Because for him to do his job, I have to allow him a certain amount of leeway. For instance, when he's going over the show, if he sees something just doesn't work in the context of actually filming it, and he'd be much more aware of the minutiae of the show than I am, then I need to have somebody I can trust enough to give the freedom to make those changes with very little discussion.
だから強いて問題があるといえば時間の時差ですね。
Maybe the biggest problem is the difference of hours between Tokyo and Los Angeles.
ですからこちらが仕事始まるときはもうロサンゼルスの仕事が終わる時間だ。
What we mean is that when here it is in the morning, we start working. It's already in the evening in Los Angeles, and it's time that people go home. Most of the producer or director in animation business don't speak English.
もちろん向こうの方も日本語は話せません。
And of course that American people, there are not many people who speak Japanese, or almost not at all.
ですから一つのシリーズ、例えばゴーストバスターに今年例えば今関わり合うとしたらやっぱり200人から300人ぐらいやっぱり関わり合うんじゃないですかと日本ですとか。
So that for a show like Ghostbusters, we assume that for one episode there will be 200 to 300 people involved in the work that is done by KKC&D, which means from layout to answer print.
After we ship the shows from Los Angeles, what happens in a studio like this is the storyboard scenes and our direction are finessed, where the action is more refined. The exposure sheets, where the action is broken down into frame-by-frame actions. And what's going on around us is these gentlemen are bearing the brunt of the production process, where they're the ones that are actually making the characters' arms move, their mouths move. Or in the case of one poor unfortunate guy here, taking the Ecto-1 car and having it come into a stop and do a bounce, which is incredibly complicated because of the amount of line work on the vehicles. After we move on from here, we'll go and see the trace and paint department, where they take the line art that these gentlemen have done, and it's shot on clear acetate, which we call a cell. And the people there take those cells and they paint on the back of them with cartoon color, which is a type of acrylic paint. And that's where the characters begin to take form and have the real colors as you see them in TV. And after that process, then we'll probably have a look at the camera bed, where we'll see a cameraman and a director as actually shoot the cells and the background art. The average episode of Ghostbusters has between 11 and 13,000 cells. It sort of is a median of 12,000 cells of artwork to do it. And in addition to the cells, there are about 400 background drawings. We're just hoping that all of their efforts and our efforts will result in a good film that will be worthy of the Ghostbusters tradition.